Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Nada, and we are continuing the basics of the matter of topic one, the matter. Last time we explained the basic concept of the matter and the atom. Today we will explain the basic concept of the bond. The bond is something that is formed between two atoms to bind them together to form a molecule or a compound. And usually this bond is due to combination of a pair of electrons. Okay, and how this pair of electrons combine, this will lead to the type of the bond. So the type of the bond depends on the way of how the pair of electrons are bind together to form a compound or a molecule. Actually, we have three types of bonding, but today I will mention only two of them: the covalent and the ionic bond. The covalent bond is based on the idea of sharing. So one atom needs one extra an extra electron to reach to the stable state, the stable active state, and another atom also needs a single electron to reach to the stable state. So they think to share the pair of electrons together, so each of them will reach to the stable state, and we will see how soon. While the ionic bond is based on the formation of ions. One atom has an extra electron, which prefer to lose it, and another atom prefer to accept the electron. So give and take. One atom will give an electron, and the other atom will accept this electron. Okay, so one will lose and the other will gain. The covalent bond. An example is the hydrogen chloride. Okay, so chlorine, the atomic number of chlorine is 17. So when we distribute the 17, it will be 287. Okay, so the outer shell of chlorine has 7 electrons. As you can see here, there is the outer shell of the chlorine. While the hydrogen atom, the hydrogen is 1, so it has only one electron in the first shell, and the first shell is an exception because the first shell is filled with only 2 electrons. Okay, so to form hydrogen chloride or hydrochloric acid, so hydrogen will bind to chlorine and they form a covalent bond where this lone electron, the single electron in hydrogen, will share with an electron from chlorine. And when we look from the hydrogen point of view, find that the hydrogen now, the shell of the hydrogen has 2 electrons, so it's stable. And if we look from the point of view of chlorine, the last shell of chlorine will have 8 electrons, so it will be stable too. So at the end, they are sharing a pair of electrons. As you can see here. This pair of electrons is shared by hydrogen and is shared by chlorine. Okay, this is the covalent bond. Molecule, the atomic molecule is a molecule that is formed from binding two similar atoms together, like hydrogen, H2. Hydrogen and hydrogen atom will bind to another hydrogen atom. O2 is another diatomic molecule, so one oxygen atom will bind to another oxygen atom, and the bond here is covalent because they are sharing a pair of electrons. Okay, so this is the covalent bond that formed between hydrogen atoms to form a hydrogen gas, H2. So every hydrogen atom has one electron, and when they come close to each other, everyone will share the resultant pair of electrons, as you can see, forming the H2. Same for chlorine, Cl2. It's a diatomic molecule. Each chlorine atom has 7 electrons at the outermost shell, and if everyone get 1 extra electron, the outer shell will have 8 electrons, so they can come close together and share this pair of electrons. And in that case, every chlorine atom will have 8 electrons at the outermost shell, forming Cl2. This is HCl, which we mentioned before. The same for oxygen. Oxygen form double bond. Each bond needs a pair of electrons. So to form this double bond, we need 2 pairs of electrons. Oxygen has 6 electrons at the outer shell, in the outermost shell, because oxygen is 8. So the distribution is 2, 8. The electron configuration is 2 and 6. So for these 6 electrons, they need 2 more, reach to the octet state. So when 2 oxygen atoms come close to each other, each of them will share 2 electrons with the other, resulting in 8 electrons in the outer shell for each of them. So they share 2 pair of electrons, and each pair will form a bond. So the bond between oxygen and the oxygen in the oxygen gas is double bond. Nitrogen is another case, but the nitrogen has a triple bond. Each bond will need a pair of electrons. Okay, so we expect that there are 3 pairs of electrons are shared. Nitrogen, the atomic number of nitrogen is 7. So it will be distributed as 2 and 5. The outermost shell of nitrogen atom will have 5 electrons, so it will need 3 more electrons. Every nitrogen atom will need 3 more electrons to reach to the octet rule. And if 2 nitrogens come close to each other, 3 from each atom will share with other 3 from the other nitrogen atoms, as you can see. Okay, and each pair will form 1 bond, single bond. So at the end, the nitrogen is bound to another nitrogen atom through a triple bond, and the bond is covalent bonding. Okay. What are the properties of the covalent bonds? The covalent bond is formed by sharing a pair of electrons between 2 atoms. Every covalent bond is formed by sharing a pair of electrons. If it is double bond, so every bond will share a pair of electrons. So the double bond is the sharing of 2 pairs of electrons. Why? To reach to the noble gas electronic configuration, which is the stable state of the atom. Each atom contributes 1 electron to each bond, 1 electron from each atom. And the molecules are formed from atoms linked together by covalent bond. So these are the physical properties of simple covalent bond. So covalent bonds are usually found in liquids and gases in room temperature, and they have low melting point, because when we look to the gases, the gas like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, they exist in the form of diatomic molecule, and this diatomic molecule has an electron equivalent bond in between. What is the reason of this for this property? A, that to make a simple covalent molecule, and the force between the molecules, the intermolecular force, are very weak, and no much energy is needed to move the molecule further apart. Okay, what other properties of simple covalent bond? Molecule with simple covalent bonds don't conduct electricity because there are no free electrons or ions, and for electrical current to be carried, to be conducted, there is a need for free electrons or ions, which allow moving of that electric current. So the properties of the simple covalent bond is that they exist usually in liquids and gases at room temperature, and they don't conduct electricity. So now it's your time to solve this homework, a simple problem. So now you have example, and down below there are keywords you can use to fill in the blanks. Situation in ionic bonding is different. So its name comes from ions, ionic from ions. So there is an ion formation. Ion can be formed by losing electrons or by gaining electrons. We will talk more in details about the ions and types of ions. But here, the idea is not sharing, it's the idea of giving and take. So as I mentioned before, an atom has an electron, an extra electron, which prefers to lose it to reach to the stable octet state, stable octet configuration of electrons, and another electron which needs this electron to reach to the octet electron configuration. Okay, and sometimes there are one or more electron in the lost or gained in the forming of ions. Chlorine, as mentioned earlier, it has 7 electrons at the outermost shell. So it's easier to gain one more electron. So the outermost shell will reach the octet electron configuration. So it prefers to accept one more electron. So it will search for another atom which has an extra electron in the outermost shell, which doesn't need, like the sodium, for example. Sodium, the atomic number of sodium is 11, so the electron configuration is 281. So at the outermost electron of the sodium, there is only single electron. So sodium will prefer to lose this electron to reach to the octet configuration of electrons. So chlorine needs one electron to fill its outermost shell, while sodium needs to lose this electron. So the previous shell will be 8, so it will reach to the octet state. So sodium will tend to lose this electron, and chlorine will gain this electron. So sodium when it loses the electron, so it loses a negative charge, so it will turn to positive ion, while chlorine, when it accepts this electron, it will gain an extra negative charge, so it will turn to a negative ion, and they will form a ionic bond, which is between a positive ion, sodium, and a negative ion, chlorine. So now the chlorine has the electron that is get from the sodium, and it is colored yellow, as you can see. Okay. So what are ions? Ions are formed when atoms gain or lose electrons. As I mentioned, any atom is composed of a nucleus. The nucleus is positive, while the outer shells contain the electrons which are negatively charged. The loss of electrons or the gain of electrons will decide which type of ion is. So if an electron is lost, it means a positive charge, a negative charge will be lost. And as a result, the positive charge of the nucleus will be more than the negative charge of the electrons around the nucleus. So it will turn into positive ion. This is hydrogen, for example, because it has only one electron. This positive ion is called the cation. So a cation is a positive ion which is formed by losing an electron from an atom. Okay? While an ion is a negative ion which is formed by attracting more electrons to an atom. So the total negative charge will be more than the total positive charge of the same atom. Magnesium chloride, an example. See, electrons in the outermost shell them and form a positive 2 ion because the total positive charge of the magnesium will be more than the total negative charge by 2. So it will be positive 2. While oxygen has 6 electrons at the outermost shell, so it will need 2 extra electrons, which is the octet electron configuration. It will gain these 2. So the total negative charge will be more than the total charge by 2. So it will be negative 2. Calcium chloride. Calcium has 2 electrons at the outermost shell, so it will tend to lose them. It's only 1, so it will give 1 to each atom. And calcium will be positive 2 charged, positive ion, while the 2 chlorine atom, each one will have negative 1 charge because each one gain 1 electron from calcium. And the calcium chloride is calcium CaCl2. 1 calcium will bind to 2 Cl. Cells tend to lose because they have less than 4 electrons at the outermost shell. So it's easier to lose them, forming cations. While nonmetals usually have more than that at the outermost shell, so it's easier to gain more electrons, forming anions or negative ions.